Welcome everyone to Let's Play Star Trek Online, Episode 0. This is going to be an overview on the character creation aspects of the game, including the different classes that are available to players when they begin to play. Part of the reason I'm doing this is due to the fact that I'm pretty unfamiliar with the latest developments of the game, and hopefully we'll be able to learn together. One of the other reasons I'm doing this is that I don't want to bog down the official first episode with however long this will take before we get to gameplay, like I did last time. So let's go! First, new players of the game who are looking to create a character need to select a faction. In Star Trek Online, there are 3 playable factions: the United Federation of Planets, the Klingon Empire, and the more recently introduced Romulan Republic. There isn't a bad faction per se, and you'll be able to create characters in other factions if you want to as well. Each faction provides for a story that it will weave throughout your character's career. Sometimes these stories will intertwine with each other in unexpected ways. I would say be aware that if playing as a Romulan Republic character, your path is also determined by your choice of aligning with the Federation or with the Klingon Empire. Let's take a look at classes. Now, there are 3 classes in Star Trek Online: Engineering, Science, and Tactical. Now, while you can play the game according to your personal playstyle and might not sync entirely with your class, it should help to know what each class can be designed to do. Let's take a look at the Engineering flavor text. Survivability, support generators, and controlling the paths of enemy advance with fieldworks. The engineering officer can withstand the most damage by improving the performance of their own personal shields, while supporting his away team with power generators, or by bottlenecking the enemy's advance with defensive minefields. The engineer's own combat effectiveness is improved by modifications to their firearms, or support fire, from fabricated turrets and drones. So based on that information, you can infer that the engineer is built to take a ton of punishment, and would probably be seen as a tank class. Engineers can also be healers, especially during space combat when you need to make quick repairs to the hull and shields. With the use of its equipment during away missions, it's also a great support class as well. Let's take a look at the Science flavor text next. Science officers protect their ship and crew by weakening or incapacitating the enemy over time, creating energy fields that damage or hinder, and healing their away team from such effects. The Science officer has the greatest potential to quickly react to a chaotic combat situation through direct enemy holds, weakening an enemy group's combat strength or resistance, or responding to enemy attack by quickly healing damage. Science officers' combat effectiveness depends on their versatility. Based on that, the Science class is certainly a healing type, but also another great support class with its buffs for allied personnel and debuffs against the enemy. You wouldn't want a Science player bearing the brunt of damage, but you sure want them at your side in order to provide your ship with increased effectiveness when the going gets tough. Let's take a look at the final class, Tactical. Combat damage, stealth recon, and squad tactics. The tactical officer can deliver damage in the widest variety of methods, while supporting his away team by drawing off enemy threat, or bolstering their combat effectiveness with tactics and squad commands. So based on the knowledge we've already received about engineers and science classes, we know that Tactical is going to be your damage-based class. Now, many new players think that if they want to win, they need to play as tactical officers in order to always give out the most damage. While the Tactical class is built for strength, engineers and science players are also effective combat classes when utilized to their strengths. Have fun and mess around with whatever class you want and don't feel restricted, even by what I've just said. You can enjoy the game regardless of class selection. Now let's discuss the races. Each faction has its own collection of races that you'll be able to choose from. A few are locked behind a paywall. Katian, Jointrills, and Pharasians come to mind, while others are exclusive only to Star Trek Online lifetime subscribers, the Liberated Borg and Talaxians. I want to note that none of these classes are god classes. They're not given huge advantages in-game that other players would find insurmountable. In fact, they're not really given advantages at all. While there are specific traits that are attributed to each of these different races, you don't need to spend money to unlock the locked races if you don't want to. It's a personal choice, based on aesthetics primarily. Have fun with your selection. And speaking of selection, even with those locked races, you have a bunch of different options. As far as unlocked choices, there are 12 options for the Federation, 5 options for the Klingon Empire, and 1 for the Romulan Republic, which is primarily due to its story. In addition, if you find none of the races available as something you want, and you just want to create a custom race a la City of Heroes, or Champions Online for those cryptic fans, you certainly can. I won't go too deep into the individual races, but be aware that each race has an innate racial trait built into them, along with a variety of racial-specific optional traits that you're able to swap when you're not engaged in combat. For example, a human player can swap out aggressive if they don't want to be the primary focal point of combat with creative, which allows for an improvement in healing capabilities. From this point forward, after you select your faction, race, and class, it's all a matter of personal customization. And trust me, there is a lot to customize. Whether it's your character's facial features, uniform, hairstyle, or other areas of the body, the game gives you a wide berth to really make the character your own, something I really appreciate personally. Again, there are more locked items, especially in the uniform department. But considering that these are all customization features and have nothing to do with how effective you are as a player, I give it a pass and say to each his own. If you want to spend the money to unlock the Mirror Universe uniforms, for example, you're more than welcome to. And I'm sure that Cryptic and parent company Perfect World Entertainment would love you to, but it's not necessary. Finally, you'll have to make a name for your new character and his or her first ship. The name you'll write here is what players will see above your character and in chat, along with the account ID tag. And there are randomizer buttons available if you're at a loss or perhaps want to stick to lore. For example, if you're playing a Klingon but don't know how the Klingon nomenclature works. There are also optional areas to fill in a formal name and a biography. Many players don't fill these in, but I know of players who have invested the time to really build a background for themselves and their characters to better immerse themselves in the game. Once you've finalized what you wanted, click Engage. And that's character creation in a nutshell. During the course of the upcoming series, we'll spend time talking about skills and abilities, the rank system, bridge officers, duty officers, and much more. It's been just about 3 years since I last touched Star Trek Online, and I know that there have been a lot of changes. In fact, when I was reviewing the original video series, it struck me that pretty much everything about it had received an upgrade. As an example, the character creation system is far better organized now than in its original release. Duty officers were not available, and the player base itself was pretty small during its last days of subscription-based playing when the original series was recorded. Now, after the conversion to free-to-play, the game has seen 2 expansion packs in Legacy of Romulus and Delta Rising. The player base is higher than ever, and content continues to be created for the game. Sure, there are complaints. Some players don't like the free-to-play system that was implemented, with examples being lockboxes and paywalled starships, but we'll take a look ourselves and discuss the value and the need for these items as well during the course of the game. Star Trek Online is one of my favorite MMOs, and I'm looking forward to returning and starting a new series on it. Until then, this is J Square John Jeremy signing out, saying so long and take care.